like I say, I had been, I started out with a position of power. I had built most ships, and most ships were advanced. Like, for instance, the Rodney and its sister ship were built in such a way that they had a targeting computer, and two people could each sit on the ship, and they could range from the ships to to the shore, and then they could range together. And I think they used radar or something like that to also tell. We were working on how to tell distances to range to a target using radar and visual things. We had rangefinders and stuff. Germany and my team basically. So, and then the ships could talk together and link up, and they could all fire all the cannons on one target, basically. The Rodney and the HMS Rodney and its sister ship could range together and then range to target, and then communicate and then fire on one target. And they were actually really, really advanced ships. They were very expensive. They were like equivalent of a couple million or dollars, like $5 million or something like that. They were really expensive to do, but they were really advanced, and you could pinpoint a target in a city, and basically they could, you could get like, I think like 16 cannons or whatever, all cannons firing into one building basically. And the two ships could even fire a pattern. It could even do a pattern, like a pattern of five, like Duke, 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 Duke. The cannons could fire a pattern of five to basically decimate an area, or a square pattern. The Rodney and its sister ship could fire patterns, like even a chevron pattern, basically. They're actually really advanced ships. I mean, they each had a computer inside of their targeting computer, and each one could communicate, so it could fire, a line pattern or a plus pattern, within pretty not quite perfect, about 5 or 6 feet off, or something like that. But that was the basic idea behind it, pretty much. The actual execution, of course, is another matter. Windages and stuff like that. But they were pretty advanced, and we were working on getting it even more advanced. But each battleship was a successive leap forward in power, strength, and maneuverability. The cannons were being upgraded and everything. And we'd come out with one like every 5 years or every 10 or 15 years. But basically, they were technological proving grounds, pretty much. And that's why I had so many. I had like 80 battleships, basically. Mostly I used them for the Panama Canal, digging out rock and stuff. Each one, they would fire 3 times a day. But basically, I had the White Fleet and the and basically I had like 200 or 1,000 ships at sea, pretty much. And I was very much in power and in control, and everyone loved me, and everyone hailed me as their leader, their king, their lord, Lucifer. And basically, Nixon was trying to get, like Jimmy Carter or one of them tried to do this one little takeover thing, and it didn't work. It's just a media takeover pretty much, and it didn't work, and everyone basically laughed him out of D.C. pretty much. So then he comes back again, this time with more clones, and they try again successively to try and take over, and this time's a little more definite. Like I say, they were doing they were unknown, and basically like this little group, pretty much just trying to take over pretty much, and pretty much using clones and confusion and all that other stuff. And because I'm world control, world power, 100 trillion years old, or at least very old, doing this thing and basically, inventing and making money and stuff. And so I'm very well known, and they're not. So finding them and finding all 30 of their clones was a little bit of an issue. And then, of course, there's the more long-range problem of Jimmy Carter, which also apparently had clones and all kinds of other stuff, and even some other stuff that was long-range away in deep space. And I had to find them as well, because they were attacking my colonies. So anyway, it becomes this great, big, huge problem, and meanwhile, Earth has no idea. You're just one little planet, and you're out here, and you have no idea what the hell is going on everywhere. And I do, and I did, And it was a matter of, dealing with the problems and dealing with everything. I am basically 100 trillion years old and had some little, like, not so trillion years old, only a couple hundred or 1,000 years old people causing some really major problems for me and everyone else. And so, like I say, Nixon doesn't give a crap. JFK didn't give a crap. Neither did Jimmy Carter. They're laughing about because basically their psycho plan is basically working or worked some out, pretty much, which is basically like world takeover, or whatever, or get into power, and then basically pretty much it was all me, really. I divided up my fleet to the different individual countries because I didn't really need the battleships, so they would just sit there as museum pieces or just guard the harbor, from pirate activity, which always is, just about anyone with a boat and a gun, thinking, oh, I'm going to come up on some stuff and then sell it, and pretty much just a problem. But, they got me to divide up my fleet a little bit, and then they started, trying to cut off communications between the different countries, and basically trying to do fake media in each country to make the other one, to try and get this error of this idea of war put in to try and get people to fight each other. And basically Nixon and JFK and Jimmy Carter are trying all this time, and they're basically just and their end goal, I guess, is doing eminent domain to try and get all this property to say, oh, it's war or whatever, although it's really my property. So anyway, it gets all confusing, and it's all, after the fact, I looked back at it and went, oh, that's what's going on. Okay. But at the time, it's like, what the F is going on? I have, basically pretty much some people in my military, and then I have these other people which are wearing like fake, crappy uniforms, which are just half-ass put together. Not even like the women of Russia, the mothers of Russia, they did these absolutely perfect, beautiful uniforms that were like perfect for their sons, and they protected the peace and everything else like that. And I even helped them get some better equipment so they could make even better uniforms for the people, and they made a nice little business out of it, pretty much. And I bought uniforms from them, the mothers of Russia, which were actually very, very good seamstresses. Anyway, though. There's these other people that were attacking my people and fighting and stuff. And like I said, my people tried not to kill them as much as possible, wounding them in the knee or, not in the knee, but like in the leg, to try and just get their weapons away from them and just be like, you're not going to fight us today. Go home and grow up, because like my very real army, we were just protecting installations and everything else like that, and we'd give out free food and everything. Like I had lots of free food drives and lots of stuff. Even did media stuff to try and get more food for starving nations, which worked really well. Like I said, I had a lot of old food or a lot of food going bad ever since Roman times. Except I was moldy back then, and that was a problem. So we were working on trying to get the bread to last longer without getting moldy. And there are some things with that and all that, lots of money, lots of research, and it's this great big huge thing that I've been doing for a very long time. And so Richard Nixon and even Adolf Hitler basically wandered into this great big huge thing, and were like, hey, yeah, cool. It's like, we're doing this thing here. We're building nations, housing people, feeding people, clothing people. We're doing this thing. Do you mind? But they don't care, to them it's just, oh, nice car, drive it like it's hot. No respect and no real care for their people other than, hey, girl, I'm the leader, give it up. And that's pretty much the mentality of some of these people, some of these so-called leaders. It's basically, hey, I'm Hitler, give it up, and be, oh, yeah, I give them 3 pops of that, oh, yeah. And that's pretty much the level of leadership that some of these countries have. And it's like, 500 trillion years old, thousands of years of evolution and basically building and creating to get to, hey, I'm the leader, hail to the leader, give me your pussy. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is what my empire amounts to? I have spent thousands of years clothing, feeding, building roads to basically that. I was like, I'm so over this.